Clara Ewell wrote about her time as a child during the Oklahoma land rush. The story begins 133 years ago in the autumn of 1893. The Cherokee Outlet in Oklahoma, near the Kansas border, shown here in bright red. This was the largest land opening in U.S. history, 6 million acres. More than 100,000 people came to race for the 40,000 homesteads. Along that border, little towns filled with wagons. Many families like ours looking to stake a claim. At noon the starting signal sent them south into the dust and hope. This is one of the photos from that day. Our family was part of this pioneer story. Leonard and Sarah Studi, seen here with 3 of their 5 children. Clara on the right, her twin brother Clarence on the left, with brother Walter behind.
I wish I could impress upon you the difference between life today and life more than 70 years ago. There were no telephones, electricity, or automobiles. Very few people depended on a salaried job for a living. The laundry took all day, water was drawn from the well by hand then heated on a wood stove.
This story spans 10 years, starting in Iowa in 1888. The family filled their wagon, and went to Oklahoma, looking for new opportunities. They had a decade of adventure, returning to Iowa in 1898.
Early in 1888, my father became interested in the Cherokee Strip. He would leave the Missouri River bottom farm and go see the prospects for a poor farmer. Our sale was held March 10th. Our remaining things went into a covered wagon. The wagon was just 5 by 10 feet, our sleeping room for 9 months. Clarence and I lay crosswise at the foot of Mother and Father. Uncle Sam and Walter slept on the ground in heavy wool comforters. Father had purchased 2 young sorrel mules. Their names were Bet and Jack. Bet was of high spirit, willing to do her share in the harness. Jack was a shirker, often using his wits to avoid doing his share.
The family left Iowa early in April, crossing the Missouri by cable flatboat at Nebraska City. The river was thick with ice when they crossed. This spooked the mules and they didn't want to board the ferry.
After 14 days through chilly rains and muddy trails, we reached a small town in Kansas, called Ewell. The Cherokee Strip was less than a mile south of town. A flat prairie where one could see for miles and miles, no houses, fences, or trees. We pitched our tent on the bank of Deer Creek. We were miles from the nearest families. A ranch with a few cowboys was our only neighbor. Before too long a family, the McMasters, moved in nearby. They had a daughter Lizzie and we became good friends. We rode horses together and shared secrets, like which boys we fancied. We spent the next 2 years living in Ewell. Father had carpenter work in Wichita and commuted each weekend by train. The town was full of families like ours, waiting for the opening of the Cherokee Strip.
In 1893, the little town began to swell, people getting ready to race on September 16th. Empty houses filled. Vacant lots filled with covered wagons. The fence around the family garden came down without permission. This image was from a neighboring town, Arkansas City, growing with homesteaders.
Water became scarce. Mother said, "Do not refuse a thirsty man a drink." We made lemonade in tubs. The price, all you can drink for 5 cents.
As this border town filled with homesteaders, it became more dangerous. One story describes the crowd in the streets being so rowdy. Sarah feared for their safety and a marshal had to escort them to the grocery store.
On September 15, the day before the run, families lined up to register for their share of the new land. The next morning the dawn was cool. We all arose early for the race at noon.
That morning, Leonard prepared his cart when Walter raced back from the corn shed. He found the owner of a gambling parlor, a block away, shot dead. They hitched up Jack and Bet, anxious for the race ahead.
About all we could see was a big cloud of dust and moving vehicles after the starting signal rang through the air.
Neely rode in a cart with Leonard when the race began, pushing the mules at top speed until they saw a promising spot. Leonard told Neely to jump, he leapt off to stake his flag. Leonard raced on to stake his own, following stones marking the sections.
Later in the afternoon, about 4 o'clock, Father drove in with a broad smile on his face. We knew without asking that he had secured a claim. At nearly 14, I begged Father to let me go with him back to the claim for the night. At nightfall we could see the other campfires and lights. The music of guitars and singing could be heard instead of the hooting owl and howling coyote.
Their first home here was dug into an embankment near the river. Part of the walls and floor were dirt with a simple wood shingle roof. It was a single-room home, 12 by 22 feet, the kitchen, living room and bedroom.
One night the wagon dipped in a washed-out road, throwing me. I landed on the tongue between the mules and frightened them. They went for the river, and I had to guide them to a halt in the deep sand.
The summer of 1894 was hot and dry, difficult time for the family. Neely and Allie sold their plot and went back to Iowa. Neely said, if one drop of rain had fallen that summer, they would have stayed.
There had been no schoolhouses built, nor schools organized. It was suggested that I teach a subscription school. I mounted my pony and recruited pupils for 50 cents each, per month. This is the schoolhouse, much later, in 1971.
The family lost the land after a dispute about the use of the claim. Leonard had hoped to build a town site but it was not allowed. The family moved to Newkirk, no longer on their homestead.
In the fall of 1896, Father was elected county surveyor of K County. He held that office from January 1897 through November 1898.
After 10 years of the pioneer life, the family decided it was time to move back. In November 1898 they packed up that very same wagon. Jack and Bet were still with them after all the years. They returned to Iowa, starting the next chapter of our family. We end our story with words from Clara's book.
Now, in this year of 1971, with concentration I have begun to relate a decade of my life, of its ups and downs, its struggles and strife. But I am not complaining, if they are counted fair. Of those ups and downs, I got an equal share.